Imagine this for a second. You meet someone who speaks English fluently. They know difficult words, they speak fast, they sound confident, and instantly you think, wow, their English level is amazing.
Yes, and then 5 minutes later, they completely misunderstand a simple question like, how's your day going? And suddenly, you feel confused.
Exactly, because your English level is not only about how many words you know, it is not only about grammar, and it is definitely not about speaking quickly.
That is such a relief because I think a lot of people watching this feel insecure when they compare themselves to others.
And today on Talk Easy Daily, we're going to do something different. We're going to reveal your real English level.
Not the level you think you have.
Not the level your textbook says you have.
And not the level you pretend to have when someone asks, do you speak English?
We're going to reveal the truth through real situations, real mistakes, and some surprising questions that most learners cannot answer honestly.
And I already feel nervous because I think some people watching will suddenly realize, wait, maybe my English is not as strong as I thought.
Or maybe the opposite. Maybe you will realize that your English is much better than you believed.
That is true because sometimes people underestimate themselves too.
Exactly. So while you're watching, I want you to do something very important. Be honest with yourself.
Don't just think, oh yes, I know this. Really ask yourself, can I use this in real life? Can I understand it quickly? Can I respond naturally?
Because by the end of this episode, you are going to have a much clearer picture of your English level, what is holding you back, and what you need to improve next.
And trust me, some of the things we're about to talk about are very unexpected.
For example, did you know that some people with advanced English still struggle to order food in a restaurant without panicking?
Wait, really?
Yes, because they know grammar rules, but they do not know how to use English naturally under pressure.
That is actually so relatable. There are people who can do grammar exercises perfectly at home, but when someone suddenly asks them a question in English, their mind goes blank.
Exactly. And that tells you something very important. Real English level is not about perfection. It is about performance.
Wow, that is powerful.
Think about it like driving a car. You can read 10 books about driving. You can memorize every traffic sign. You can even explain how an engine works.
But if you sit behind the wheel and panic after 5 seconds, you're not really a confident driver.
Exactly. English works the same way. Knowing is one thing, using is another.
So today, we're going to test that.
Yes, we're going to look at listening, speaking, vocabulary, confidence, reaction speed, real-life situations, and even one hidden sign that secretly reveals your English level faster than anything else.
Hidden sign? Now I'm curious.
Good, because that hidden sign surprises almost everyone.
And if you're watching right now, I want you to comment below and tell us honestly, what English level do you think you have right now? Beginner, intermediate, advanced, or maybe completely confused?
And don't worry, by the end of this episode, you probably will have a much better answer.
Because the next thing we're about to talk about is one of the biggest lies English learners believe about fluency. And once you hear it, you may never think about your English the same way again.
One of the biggest lies people believe is this. If I know a lot of English words, my English level must be high.
Oh, wow. I think so many people believe that.
They do, and that is why some learners spend years memorizing vocabulary lists.
Huge lists.
Thousands of words.
Fancy words.
Difficult words.
Words they never actually use.
Exactly. And then one day, someone asks them a very simple question, like, what did you do this weekend? And suddenly they freeze.
Because they know the word extraordinary, but they cannot explain that they stayed home, watched Netflix, and cleaned their room.
Exactly. Real English is often simple, very simple.
That is actually shocking because many people think advanced English means using big words all the time.
Not at all. In fact, people with strong English often use simple words in a very natural way.
Can you give an example?
Of course. Imagine someone says, I was utterly devastated due to the unforeseen cancellation of my travel arrangements.
That sounds very formal.
Very formal. Now imagine someone else says, I was really upset because my trip got canceled.
That sounds more natural.
Exactly. And in real life, the second sentence is usually better.
So if someone always tries to sound too advanced, it can actually make their English sound strange.
Yes, and this is where many learners get trapped. They confuse difficult English with good English.
Wow.
Here's a quick test for everyone watching. If someone asks you, "How was your day?" Can you answer quickly, naturally, and comfortably?
That sounds easy, but honestly, some people still panic with simple questions like that.
Exactly, because simple questions require automatic English.
Not memorized English.
Right. If your brain needs 10 seconds to create every sentence, your English is still developing even if you know a lot of grammar.
That is such an important point.
Let me tell you a story. I once met a student who knew almost every grammar rule perfectly.
Really?
Perfectly. If you gave him a grammar test, he could score almost 100%.
That sounds amazing.
But one day, I asked him a very basic question. I said, "What do you usually do after work?"
And what happened?
He froze, completely froze. He looked nervous, he started translating in his head, he kept stopping, and after almost 20 seconds, he said, "Usually after work, I am, how to say, relaxing myself with television."
Oh no.
Exactly. Now listen carefully. His grammar knowledge was strong, but his speaking was not automatic.
Which means his real English level was lower than he thought.
Yes, because language is not just knowledge, it's speed, it's comfort, it's natural reaction.
That reminds me of something that happens to so many learners. They understand English when they're alone, but when they talk to a real person, they suddenly feel pressure.
Exactly. Pressure changes everything.
Your heart starts beating faster.
Your brain suddenly feels empty.
You forget simple words.
And then afterward, you remember everything you wanted to say.
That's the worst feeling ever.
It really is. And if that happens to you, don't worry. It doesn't mean you're bad at English.
It just means you need more real speaking practice.
Exactly. And here's something surprising. One of the clearest signs of your English level is not your speaking.
Wait, what?
It's your listening.
Really?
Yes, because listening reveals how quickly your brain can process English in real time.
That makes sense because when people speak naturally, they speak fast.
Very fast. They connect words, they shorten words, they use slang, they change pronunciation.
Like, what are you doing becoming what you doing?
Exactly. Or I'm going to becoming I'm gonna.
And learners hear that and think, wait, what did they just say?
Exactly. And this is important. If you can understand slow English videos, but you cannot understand real conversations, your level may not be as high as you think.
Ouch, that one hurts.
But it's true. Real listening is one of the hardest parts of English.
Because you can't control the speed.
Right. When you read, you can stop. When you write, you can think. But when someone speaks, you have to understand immediately.
That's scary.
It is, but it's also one of the fastest ways to improve. Because when you improve your listening, your speaking usually improves too.
Why is that?
Because your brain starts collecting natural sentence patterns.
So instead of translating from your own language, you start thinking in English.
Exactly. And that's a huge sign that your English level is growing.
I think many people watching have had that moment where they suddenly say something in English without thinking first.
Yes, and that moment feels amazing.
Because you realize, wait, I didn't translate that.
Exactly. That's one of the first real signs of fluency.
Not perfection, fluency.
Right, because fluency is not speaking without mistakes. Fluency is speaking without fear.
Wow, that is such a powerful difference.
Think about children. Children make mistakes all the time when they speak.
True.
But they're still fluent because they're not afraid to communicate.
Meanwhile, adults often know more grammar than children, but they're too nervous to speak.
Exactly, and that fear becomes the real problem.
So maybe some people don't actually have a low English level. Maybe they have a confidence problem.
Absolutely. Confidence changes everything. A person with intermediate English and strong confidence often sounds better than someone with advanced English and constant fear.
That is such a huge lesson.
And if you're watching this right now, I want you to think honestly. Are you really weak in English, or are you simply afraid of making mistakes?
That is such a good question.
Because your answer could completely change the way you learn.
And in the next part, we're going to talk about one situation that secretly reveals your English level faster than almost anything else.
And trust me, when you hear this situation, you will instantly know whether your English is stronger than you thought, or whether you still have a major weakness hiding in plain sight.
There is one situation that reveals your English level almost immediately.
Now I'm nervous again.
Imagine this. You're talking to someone in English and suddenly they ask you an unexpected question.
Oh no.
Not a prepared question.
Not, what is your name?
Not, where are you from?
But something random like, what would you do if you suddenly became famous?
Exactly.
That is terrifying.
And that is where your real English level appears.
Because you cannot memorize the answer in advance.
Right. You have to think in real time.
You have to organize your ideas quickly. You have to search for words naturally.
And you have to stay calm.
Exactly.
That is why spontaneous conversation is one of the best ways to measure your English.
Because life is spontaneous.
Very spontaneous. Real conversations do not follow a script.
People interrupt you.
They change the topic.
They speak too fast.
They ask strange questions.
They use slang.
They laugh in the middle of a sentence.
And sometimes they say things you've never heard before.
Exactly. And if you can still continue the conversation even with mistakes, that means your English is becoming flexible.
Flexible? I like that word.
Because strong English is flexible. It can move, it can adapt, it can survive difficult situations.
That is so true. Some people only know English in one situation.
Exactly. They can talk about their job.
Or their studies.
Or their family.
But if you suddenly ask them about travel, money, relationships, food, stress, social media, or dreams, they get stuck.
Right. And that's a sign that their English is still very limited.
So one way to test yourself is to ask, can I talk about many different topics?
Yes, and not only talk, can you understand many different topics too?
That's important.
Because maybe you can understand English videos about learning English,
But not movies.
not podcasts,
Not interviews.
not sports commentary.
Not business conversations.
Exactly. Your English level becomes stronger when you can move between different kinds of English.
That's actually a really good challenge for people watching. Try listening to different things.
Yes, watch a movie scene, listen to a podcast, watch an interview, listen to someone telling a story. Then ask yourself, how much did I really understand?
And be honest.
Exactly. Because sometimes people think they understood something, but they only understood the general topic.
Oh wow, that happens all the time.
Yes, they hear vacation, hotel, flight, and family, so they think, okay, this conversation is about travel.
But they miss all the details.
Exactly. They don't understand the jokes, the emotions, the hidden meaning, or the fast expressions.
That's such a good point because real understanding is more than understanding keywords.
Much more. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone says, honestly, I wasn't expecting much, but it turned out to be one of the best trips of my life.
That sounds simple.
It does, but many learners may understand best trip and life, but completely miss I wasn't expecting much or it turned out to be.
Which means they miss the whole meaning of the sentence.
Exactly, and phrases like turned out to be are everywhere in natural English.
So maybe one hidden sign of your level is how well you understand these common phrases.
Absolutely. Native speakers use chunks of language all the time.
Chunks.
Small groups of words that naturally go together.
Like at the end of the day.
Exactly, or to be honest.
It depends on.
By the way.
I have no idea.
Perfect. And if you know these chunks, your English sounds much more natural.
Because you're not building every sentence word by word.
Right, you're using ready-made patterns.
That probably makes speaking faster too.
Much faster. And this is something many learners don't realize. Fluency is often about phrases, not individual words.
That's so important.
Let me ask you something. Which sounds more natural? I'm very hungry or I'm starving?
I'm starving.
Exactly. Which sounds more natural? I'm very tired or I'm exhausted?
I'm exhausted.
And that's another sign of level. Higher level speakers usually know more natural alternatives.
Not just more difficult vocabulary.
Right, more useful vocabulary.
There's a huge difference.
And here's another test for everyone watching. If someone tells you bad news in English, can you react naturally?
Oh, wow. Like what?
Imagine your friend says, "I lost my job."
You probably shouldn't say, "That is very bad."
Exactly. It sounds too robotic.
A more natural response would be, "Oh no, I'm so sorry to hear that."
Perfect. Or if someone says, "I just got married," you wouldn't say, "That is acceptable."
Definitely not.
You would say, "That's amazing. Congratulations."
So your English level is also true. But if you relax and focus on the bigger picture, you can understand much more than you think. That's such a good tip. Here's another difference between intermediate and advanced learners. Advanced learners ask more questions. Really? Yes, if they don't understand something, they don't stay silent. They ask. Exactly. They say things like, "Sorry, what do you mean by that?" Or, "Can you say that another way?" Or, "I didn't catch the last part." Those phrases are so useful. They are, because real communication is not about pretending you understand everything. It's about being honest. Exactly. Think about native speakers. Even native speakers ask people to repeat things. That's true. They say, "Sorry? What was that? Can you repeat that?" So if you ask someone to repeat something, it doesn't mean your English is bad. Not at all. It means you're participating in the conversation. That's such an important mindset shift. It really is. And here's something else advanced learners do. They tell stories better. Oh, wow, that's true. Beginners often speak in very short sentences. Like, "I went to the store, I bought food, I came home." Exactly. But advanced speakers connect ideas. How? They say things like, "I went to the store because I needed some food, but when I got there, I realized I had forgotten my wallet, so I had to go back home." That sounds much more natural. Exactly, and those connecting words make a huge difference. Words like because, although, however, so, and even though. Exactly. Those words help you create longer, smoother thoughts, which makes your English sound more advanced. Very much so. In fact, if you want a quick way to improve your English level, learn to connect your ideas better. That's such a practical tip. Instead of speaking in separate sentences, start combining them. For example, instead of saying, "I was tired, I went to bed early," you can say, "I was so tired that I went to bed early." That sounds much more natural. Exactly. And when you speak like that, people feel that your English is stronger. There's also something else advanced learners do. They know how to sound softer. That's a very good point. Beginners often sound too direct without realizing it. Exactly. For example, instead of saying, "Give me water," an advanced speaker says, "Could I have some water, please?" Or instead of saying, "You are wrong," they might say, "I'm not sure I agree." Exactly. Softening language is a big sign of higher level English, because it sounds more polite and more natural. Very much so. And this matters a lot in work situations, travel, friendships, and daily life, because English is not only about words, it's also about tone. That's so true. Let me tell you a funny story. I once had a student who wanted to improve his business English. Okay. One day, he went to a coffee shop in English and said to the employee, "Give me coffee." Oh no! He thought it was normal because the grammar was correct. But it sounded very aggressive. Exactly. The employee looked surprised. So later, I taught him to say, "Could I get a coffee, please?" Much better. A week later, he came back smiling because he said people were suddenly much more friendly to him. That's amazing. Small changes can completely change the way people react to your English. So maybe advanced English is not about sounding smarter. Maybe it's about sounding more natural, more flexible, and more human. Exactly. That's the real secret. And if you're watching right now, I want you to think about this. When you forget a word, do you stop speaking or do you keep going? Because that answer reveals a lot about your English level. And in the next part, we're going to talk about something that secretly destroys English confidence for millions of learners. And once you realize what it is, you may finally understand why your English feels stuck even when you study every day.
There is one thing that secretly destroys English confidence for millions of learners.
Fear?
Close. It is the fear of making mistakes.
Oh, wow, that is definitely true.
So many people stay quiet, avoid conversations, and hide their English because they are scared of saying something wrong.
And the strange part is that they often know much more English than they think.
Exactly. But because they are so focused on being perfect, they never actually use what they know.
That is such a painful cycle.
It really is. Imagine someone who studies English every day for 3 years.
Okay.
They learn grammar, they memorize vocabulary, they watch videos, they read books.
Sounds like a hardworking learner.
Very hardworking. But then someone speaks to them in English and suddenly they panic.
Because they're thinking, what if I make a mistake? What if I say the wrong word? What if they laugh at me?
Exactly. And because of that fear, they speak less.
Which means they improve less.
Right. And then they think, maybe I am bad at English.
When actually, they just do not have enough speaking experience.
Exactly. That is why perfection is so dangerous. Perfection makes you silent.
Wow.
Let me tell you something important. Native speakers make mistakes too.
All the time.
They forget words.
They say the wrong thing.
They mix up grammar.
They start a sentence and then change it halfway through.
Exactly. Real conversation is messy.
That's actually comforting.
It should be, because if you're waiting until your English is perfect before you speak, you may wait forever.
That is such a powerful point.
Think about learning to ride a bicycle.
Nobody waits until they are perfect before they get on the bike.
Exactly. They get on the bike, they fall, they feel embarrassed, they try again, and slowly they improve.
But with English, many people want to avoid the falling part.
Yes, they want to magically become fluent without ever feeling uncomfortable.
But that's impossible.
Exactly. Discomfort is part of progress.
I think that's something people really need to hear.
Absolutely, because sometimes the most embarrassing conversations become your biggest learning experiences.
That's so true.
I remember one student who wanted to say, "I'm bored."
Okay.
But instead he said, "I'm boring."
Oh, no.
Everyone laughed.
That is such a classic mistake.
It is, but guess what?
He never forgot the difference again.
Exactly. Sometimes mistakes teach you faster than success.
That is such a good way to think about it.
Here's another mistake many learners make. They compare themselves to people who are much better than them.
Social media makes that even worse.
Very true. You watch someone speaking perfect English online and suddenly you feel terrible about your own level.
You think, why am I not that good yet?
Exactly. But what you don't see is how many years that person spent practicing.
Or how many mistakes they made before they became confident.
Exactly. You are comparing your beginning to someone else's middle or even their end.
That's never fair.
No, it's not. The only person you should compare yourself to is the old version of yourself.
I love that.
Ask yourself, can I do something today that I couldn't do 6 months ago?
Maybe now you can watch English videos without subtitles.
Maybe now you can introduce yourself more confidently.
Maybe now you understand songs better.
Maybe now you can order food, send messages, or have short conversations in English.
Those things matter.
They matter a lot. Progress is not always dramatic.
Sometimes it's very small.
But small progress becomes big progress if you keep going.
That is such a motivating idea.
And here's something interesting. Many learners think confidence comes before speaking.
But actually, confidence comes from speaking.
Exactly. You don't become confident and then start speaking.
You start speaking, and then you become confident.
Right. Confidence is built through action.
That reminds me of something. There are people who say, I will speak English when I feel ready.
And usually they never feel ready.
Exactly.
Because readiness is not something that suddenly appears one day.
You create it.
Exactly. Every conversation, every mistake, every awkward moment makes you stronger.
Even the embarrassing ones.
Especially the embarrassing ones.
That's funny, but true.
Let me ask everyone watching something important. What is one English mistake you made that you will never forget?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because those mistakes are often the moments that help you improve the most.
Comment below and tell us your funniest or most embarrassing English mistake.
And if you're enjoying this conversation, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to Talk Easy Daily because we talk about real English, real confidence, and real progress.
And I think what we're talking about right now is so important because there are probably people watching who feel stuck.
Definitely.
They study every day, but they feel like nothing is changing.
And sometimes the problem isn't their English.
It's their mindset.
Exactly. If you keep telling yourself, my English is terrible, your brain starts believing it.
That's true.
But if you start saying, my English is improving, you notice more progress.
That sounds simple, but it changes everything.
It really does, because language learning isn't only mental, it's emotional too.
Wow.
If you feel stressed, ashamed, and frustrated all the time, learning becomes harder.
But if you feel curious, relaxed, and excited, you learn faster.
Exactly. That's why enjoying English is so important.
Watch things you enjoy.
Listen to topics you care about.
Learn phrases you can actually use.
Talk about your real life.
Because if English becomes part of your real world, it becomes much easier to remember.
Exactly. And in the next part, we're going to talk about the daily habits that secretly reveal whether someone will become fluent or stay stuck for years. And some of these habits are so small that most people completely ignore them.
There are certain daily habits that quietly reveal whether someone will eventually become fluent in English or stay stuck for years.
And I have a feeling some of these habits are not what people expect.
Exactly. Most people think fluency comes from studying harder,
More grammar books.
more vocabulary lists.
More exercises.
But often the real difference is consistency.
Doing small things every day.
Exactly, because language learning is like going to the gym.
One huge workout will not change your body overnight.
But small workouts every day can completely transform you over time.
That is such a good comparison.
Let me give you an example. Imagine two students.
Okay,
Student number 1 studies English for 5 hours every Saturday.
that sounds impressive.
It does, but then they do nothing for the rest of the week.
Oh,
Student number 2 studies for just 20 minutes every day.
that does not sound like much.
But after 1 month, student number 2 has spent more time with English.
And probably remembers more too?
Exactly, because their brain sees English every day.
That daily contact is so important.
Very important. Even 10 minutes a day can make a difference if you do it consistently.
That is encouraging because some people feel like they need hours and hours of free time.
No, you do not need huge amounts of time. You need regular habits.
So, what are some habits that help people become fluent?
One of the biggest habits is thinking in English.
That sounds difficult.
At first, yes, but it becomes easier with practice.
How can someone do that?
Start with simple things. When you wake up, look around your room and name things in English.
Like bed, window, phone, chair.
Exactly. Or when you're cooking, think, I'm cutting vegetables. I need more salt. This smells good.
That is actually such a smart habit.
Because it teaches your brain to use English without translation.
And that's one of the biggest goals, right?
Absolutely. The less you translate, the faster and more natural your English becomes.
I think many people spend too much time translating every sentence in their head.
They do, and that creates delay.
You hear a question in English.
Then you translate it into your language.
Then you think of an answer.
Then you translate the answer back into English.
That takes forever.
Exactly, and that's why conversations become stressful.
So if you want to sound more fluent, you need to reduce translation.
Right. Another habit that helps is talking to yourself in English.
Some people will think that sounds strange.
Maybe, but it works.
What kind of things can you say?
Anything. You can talk about your day, your plans, your problems, or what you are doing right now.
Like, today I have a lot of work, but later I want to relax and watch a movie.
Exactly. The goal is not perfection. The goal is practice.
And the great thing is that you can do it anywhere.
Yes, in the shower, in the car, while walking, while cleaning your room.
Nobody even needs to hear you.
Exactly. And this habit builds speaking confidence because your mouth gets used to English.
That's such a good point. Speaking is physical too.
Very physical. Your mouth needs practice. Your tongue needs practice. Your pronunciation muscles need practice.
Pronunciation muscles?
Yes, some English sounds may not exist in your language.
Like the s sound.
Exactly. Or the difference between ship and sheep.
Those sounds can be difficult.
Very difficult, but the more you say them, the easier they become.
So maybe one reason people stay stuck is because they don't speak enough out loud.
Exactly. They read silently, they listen silently, they study silently, but they almost never use their voice.
Right, and then when they finally need to speak, it feels uncomfortable.
That makes so much sense. Here's another habit that reveals a lot about your future English level. Successful learners stay curious.
Curious about what?
About words, phrases, accents, pronunciation, culture, jokes, and expressions.
So instead of saying, oh, I don't know that word, they say, interesting, let me learn it.
Exactly. Curiosity keeps you moving forward.
While frustration makes you stop.
Right. Let me give you an example. Imagine you hear the phrase, I'm broke.
That means you don't have money.
Exactly. A curious learner says, oh, that's a useful phrase. I want to remember that.
While another learner hears it and thinks, this is too difficult and gives up.
Exactly. Your reaction to difficulty reveals a lot about your future progress.
That is powerful.
Very powerful, because learning English is not only about intelligence.
It's about attitude, too.
Exactly. Some people become fluent not because they're smarter, but because they're more patient.
Wow.
They accept that learning takes time.
They don't expect instant results.
They understand that some days will feel easy and some days will feel frustrating.
But they keep going anyway.
Exactly. That's the secret.
There's something else I've noticed too. People who improve quickly usually make English part of their daily life.
Absolutely.
They change their phone language to English.
They follow English pages on social media.
They listen to English music.
They watch English videos.
They read comments in English.
Exactly. They surround themselves with the language.
And that probably helps their brain feel more comfortable with English.
Very much so. English stops feeling foreign.
It becomes normal.
Exactly. And when English becomes normal, confidence grows naturally.
That is such a good point.
Let me ask everyone watching something. If someone followed your daily routine for 1 week, would they believe you're serious about learning English?
Wow, that's a deep question.
Because your habits tell the truth.
Not your goals.
Exactly. Many people say, I want to become fluent.
But their daily actions don't match that goal.
Right. They spend 3 hours on social media, but only 5 minutes with English.
That is so true.
And then they wonder why they're not improving.
That hurts a little.
Sometimes the truth hurts.
But it can also motivate you.
Exactly. Because if you change your habits, you can change your results.
And the amazing thing is that small habits can create huge change over time.
Very huge. 10 new words a day may not sound impressive.
But after 1 year, that's thousands of words.
Exactly. 15 minutes of listening every day may not sound like much.
But after 6 months, your listening level can be completely different.
Right. Small actions repeated every day become powerful.
And in the next part, we're going to talk about some real-life examples of people with different English levels.
And when you hear these examples, you may suddenly realize which one sounds most like you.
One of the hidden signs that someone is becoming truly fluent in English is when they stop translating emotions word for word.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, they start reacting naturally.
Like instead of stopping to think, what is the English word for surprised? They just say, no way.
Exactly. Or seriously? Or that's crazy.
Those little reactions make such a big difference.
They do, because real conversations move fast.
And if you can react naturally, people feel more comfortable talking to you.
Exactly. Think about this. Imagine someone tells you, I just got a new job.
A natural reaction would be, that's amazing.
Right. Or if someone says, I failed my exam.
You could say, oh no, I'm sorry to hear that.
Exactly. Those emotional reactions are small, but they make your English sound much more alive.
I think many learners focus so much on grammar that they forget about these little human moments.
Very true. But those little moments are often what makes someone sound fluent.
What are some other hidden signs?
Another big sign is when you start understanding jokes.
Oh wow, that is difficult.
Very difficult, because jokes often depend on culture, timing, wordplay, or sarcasm.
And sarcasm can be especially confusing.
Absolutely. Imagine someone says, "Oh, great, another meeting, exactly what I needed today."
If you do not understand sarcasm, you might think they're happy.
One of the hidden signs that someone is becoming truly fluent in English is when they stop translating emotions word for word.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, they start reacting naturally.
Like instead of stopping to think, what is the English word for surprised? They just say, no way.
Exactly. Or seriously? Or that's crazy.
Those little reactions make such a big difference.
They do, because real conversations move fast.
And if you can react naturally, people feel more comfortable talking to you.
Exactly. Think about this. Imagine someone tells you, "I just got a new job."
A natural reaction would be, that's amazing.
Right. Or if someone says, "I failed my exam."
You could say, oh no, I'm sorry to hear that.
Exactly. Those emotional reactions are small, but they make your English sound much more alive.
I think many learners focus so much on grammar that they forget about these little human moments.
Very true, but those little moments are often what makes someone sound fluent.
What are some other hidden signs?
Another big sign is when you start understanding jokes.
Oh wow, that is difficult.
Very difficult, because jokes often depend on culture, timing, wordplay, or sarcasm.
And sarcasm can be especially confusing.
Absolutely. Imagine someone says, "Oh, great, another meeting, exactly what I needed today."
If you do not understand sarcasm, you might think they're happy.
So let us bring everything together.
Because we talked about a lot today.
We did, and if you remember only one thing from this entire episode, remember this. Your English level is not only about grammar.
It is not only about vocabulary.
It is not only about pronunciation.
And it is definitely not about sounding perfect.
Real English level is about communication.
Can you understand people?
Can you express your ideas?
Can you react naturally?
Can you continue speaking even when you forget a word?
Can you stay calm when someone asks you an unexpected question?
Exactly. Those are the things that reveal your real English level.
We talked about listening.
Because listening shows how quickly your brain can process English in real time.
We talked about confidence.
Because many people do not actually have a low English level. They simply have a fear problem.
We talked about flexibility.
Because strong English means being able to survive in different situations.
We talked about habits.
Because daily actions matter more than big promises.
And we talked about fluency.
Because fluency is not speaking without mistakes.
It is speaking without fear.
Exactly.
I think a lot of people watching this are probably realizing something important right now.
What is that?
Maybe they aren't as bad at English as they thought.
I think so too.
Maybe they just need more speaking practice,
More listening practice.
more confidence,
More patience.
and less pressure.
Exactly. Because if you keep waiting until your English is perfect, you will keep waiting forever.
But if you start speaking now, start making mistakes now, and start practicing now, your English can grow much faster than you imagine.
Think about where you were 1 year ago.
Maybe back then, you understood almost nothing in English.
Maybe you were too shy to say even one sentence.
Maybe you couldn't watch videos without subtitles.
And now look at you. You were here. You were listening to a full episode in English.
You're understanding ideas, stories, emotions, and examples.
That is progress.
Huge progress.
And if you keep going, imagine where your English could be 1 year from now.
That's exciting.
It really is, because fluency is not something magical.
It's something you build,
Day by day,
conversation by conversation.
mistake by mistake,
And little by little, English stops feeling impossible.
it starts feeling normal.
So if you watched this entire episode, we want you to do something important.
Comment below and tell us honestly, what do you think your English level is now, and what is the one thing you need to improve the most?
Listening,
Speaking?
vocabulary.
Confidence? Tell us in the comments because we read them and we love hearing about your journey.
And if this episode helped you, don't forget to like the video because that helps Talk Easy Daily reach more English learners around the world.
Subscribe to Talk Easy Daily if you want more real conversations, more confidence, and more practical English for real life.
And share this episode with a friend who feels insecure about their English.
Because sometimes one conversation can completely change the way someone sees themselves.
And maybe that person is you.
Keep practicing.
Keep speaking.
Keep making mistakes.
And keep believing that your English can improve.
Because it absolutely can.
See you in the next episode.
See you next time on Talk Easy Daily.